today's episode of PJ and the Beard, we're going to kick it old school and go back to a Dare to Compare episode, which we haven't done in a while. And we're daring to compare two things that I think I'll kick it over to the Beard to tell you what we're comparing.
Right. So our friend of the show, been a subscriber since nearly the beginning of the show. We've become pretty good friends with him. Our friend Bryan Landreth, affectionately known as
Uncle Bri, for his southern wisdom and charm.
Right. Sent us his Guyatone vintage tremolo and asked us to compare it with the Cesar Diaz tremolo, because we've been referring to the Cesar Diaz as kind of the gold standard of tremolos. Both of these pedals have gone up in value. They're kind of rare. Both of them kind of rare. Both going up in value. Both worth considerably more than they should be.
Right.
The Cesar Diaz, if you're interested in a Cesar Diaz, they just found a whole stockpile of old ones that were never sold, old new stock, and they've priced them about $1,000 a piece to get them out to the public.
Yes.
And we're not going to say anything else about that.
No, mine's signed by Cesar on the inside. It's not going anywhere.
We're not offering any insight on that.
No.
So what we've done is we've used the JHS switchback. We've set up the Cesar Diaz on one side, set up the vintage tremolo from Guyatone on the other. It's the Flip Series with a tube in it. And we picked a couple things to play, a couple different guitars, and we're just jumping back and forth between the two. Always starts on the vintage tremolo. That's the red side on the switchback. Hit the button, the green light lights up. You're on the Cesar Diaz. Pat, you kicked it off.
Yeah, the first clip did with the Mondata, or the Rivolta Mondata 8, which is what I played most of the Tremolo series on, so I thought we would go at a very home-like place to do that. And I dialed them up to sound as closely as I could, and it sounded like this.
So that was the Mondata. In that clip, the goal was really to try and get them to sound as close to each other as we could. And so now we switched to the Telecaster. We took the speed and dialed that back a little bit. We left the depth about where it was, and that's kind of predetermined by the Cesar Diaz. When you roll that dwell knob up, that's about the point where you really start to hear it. So for this clip, we left the dwell there.
Right.
And like you said, in the Tremolo series, I always played the opening riff on this 52 Hot Rod Telecaster reissue. And so we kind of took the opening riff and bounced back and forth between the two to see what that would sound like.
right, so that was the Hot Rod Telecaster. Like Jason said, played in all the opening riffs, played those riffs again, compared the two. Now I have brought in my 2001 PRS McCarty single cut with the original 7 pickups, I think they're called. And tried to set the Diaz the way I would use it, as I've always used it, with the rate the whole way up, the dwell, but then I can cut the time in half. So tried a little bit, try to say, how would I use the Diaz and could I make the flip work like that? So that's what I played with this.
So that was the tremolo pedals with the PRS single cut. And then for the next clip, I grabbed an American Stratocaster. And those longtime viewers of the show, I've had 2 different vendors in my hands with single coils in one episode. It's a new record. But yeah, I grabbed this one. We took the dwell down now. So it was really kind of hard to hear on the Diaz. And what we've discovered, and you'd have to maybe go back and watch the Diaz episode or whatever, but the Diaz, the depth knob on the Diaz is interesting. Right. Because it comes in slow and you get more of like that sine wave, but then you start to turn it higher and higher and it goes more like almost like a square wave. So it's just a different approach.
But it doesn't really engage until about 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock.
We think there's some slow swirl. We turn it on and off and you can hear it. And so then we tried to match speed and stuff with the Guyatone and just played some stuff on the Strat. Sounds a little bit like this. We did fourth. We did the fourth, started in the 4th position, played it twice, went to the 2nd position. That might be helpful as well.
Yeah.
Sounds like this.
So that was with the Fender Strat, and at the end you could tell I couldn't resist keeping my hands off of it to tweak the intensity so you could hear the effect a little bit more. And we went back and forth a couple more times, a little bit of a bonus compared to what we planned on. But then I thought, well, let's keep the Diaz in ways that I would use it. And so with the rate the whole way up and the dwell at 11, I got the PRS out again, and we used the TL Pedals Honker Overdrive because I like tube screamers. And I like that really choppiness. And so on the bridge pickup, this is what it sounded like.
So that was the PRS with the Honker Overdrive from TL Pedals. And, we picked that pedal purposely because there's a connection with Uncle Bri with that pedal.
Right.
So this episode was not about us picking which one is better. The question is, Uncle Bri asked us, can you compare them? Mm-hmm. Let's have a little shootout. So here's the shootout. We want to know what you think. Right. So in the comments down below, we would love to hear from you. Which did you like better? What did you like about maybe it's not even a question of what you like better.
Right.
What did you like about one or the other kind of thing. I would be hard pressed to choose, and I'm not going to tell you how I would choose. How about you?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's almost like for those of you watching that have children, your children, you all love them. You love something about them, but they're different from each other. And I think that's kind of how I would look at this. I mean, this was I'm pointing at the Diaz like you can see it. The Diaz is right here. It was my first child, right? So it was the one that like, oh, this is what all the children are supposed to be like. And then the flip shows up and it's a little bit different. And I think I like things about both of them. I maybe kind of wish one or the other one would do something that the other one does. But I like them both. And we're sitting in front of the amps for probably only the second or third time recording. We've always wondered, like, what does it sound like in the room? What does it sound like on the recording? And now this is a whole different animal because the amps were 10 feet that way before. Now they're right here. So
yeah, shooting the other way.
Right. So I don't know on a recording what's going to sound the best because that's what you're going to hear. Because unfortunately, you're not in the room. But if you join, you could be in the room. I jumped the gun there. So that was a little bit of a rambling. But I would use the children comparison. I think is probably the fairest way for me to do that. And I think the Flip has some features that the Diaz doesn't because it's only got 2 knobs.
Right.
So
exactly. I think that's it.
I think so.
All right. So this is the point where we always like to take a moment and just thank everybody that's been watching, subscribing, clicking the notification bell, hitting like, leaving comments, going to Instagram, Facebook. Anytime you interact with the show, it really helps us out. We appreciate that. Make sure to stop by the website. We have all the series on the website in one place where you can go and easily click through them and check those out. And as always, thank you to our members. And that's what Pat was talking about. We call the membership the room. And we invite people to come and hang out in the room and help direct the show. And help us just figure out what to do next. And we appreciate the members. And with that,
I'm PJ on behalf of the beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much beard. That's totally... I was thinking...
Freudian slip.
Wow. Huh.
We'll leave it with that.
Yeah.